The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, host of the Live Like Eden podcast. What do you do when your whole life flips upside down? Are you questioning everything, lost in chaos, or yearning for life's deeper meaning? I've been there, deep in the thick of it, unraveling my own awakening mess for over 20 years. Now I'm here to help you through yours. I share no-nonsense weekly wake-ups, cutting through the ego's illusions to wake you up to your own spiritual wisdom. No mountaintop bliss needed here, just practical tools, insights, and real-life experience to save you time. Plus, a much-needed laugh when we're all losing it. Let's dive into this fresh new episode. Today is all about meditation and the mind, and I'm here joined by special guest Charlie Baldwin. Charlie has facilitated programs through the Art of Living Foundation, teaching thousands of people across the United States with over 1,000 hours of teaching experience. He's a dedicated practitioner of breathwork and meditation himself for over the past 12 years, and he specializes in making deep, transformational wisdom genuinely accessible to all of us. He currently leads retreats at the Art of Living Retreat Center in Boone, North Carolina, and he continues to facilitate programs for students at institutions like Carnegie Mellon, MIT, and Purdue. What makes Charlie so unique is his down-to-earth style and weaving humor and real-world neuroscience into mindfulness, making it highly relatable for people navigating today's fast-paced digital world. Today, we dive deeply into this topic of meditation, how it can improve our lives, and how we can access laughter and joy in the process. I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Charlie. I will link everything about him in the show notes for you, and I will be back with you again next week. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. I'm delighted to be joined by Charlie Baldwin. Charlie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
You are welcome. Charlie, I'm so excited. You're here to talk about meditation. Not only are you a meditation practitioner for looks like well over a decade, but you also are a teacher and you facilitate meditation classes at the Art of Living Retreat Center, correct? In Boone, North Carolina. Where is Boone, by the way?
Yeah, so we're far northwest up in the mountains. So not too far from Tennessee and Virginia, but we sit atop a beautiful mountaintop in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And it's quite a peaceful place.
I was wondering that because I've never heard of Boone, but I thought, I bet it's in a mountain, like retreat. It's probably pretty. Yeah. And you've also taught students, right? In universities like Carnegie Mellon, MIT, and Purdue. Now that would be interesting to work with the youth. I have kids in college, so they need to take your meditation classes.
Yeah, that's where I learned it. So that was like the first group of people that I started teaching was that's where it impacted me when I was in college. And so I felt very obliged to pass it on to other college students.
Well, that's what we're going to get into first. I always love to start off by asking anybody who's on the show. My show is about transformation and spirituality. And I love to hear your own personal story. Like, how'd you get into meditation? Give us the lowdown.
All right. Well, my story actually starts even right before college, where I was at the end of senior year. And up until that point, I really didn't have any interest in, certainly not meditation, but not even anything spiritual or wellness or anything like that. I grew up going to church. I grew up in a Presbyterian household. We would go to church every Sunday. But to me, at least at the time, it was felt more of a social thing or like just an obligation as opposed to like the spiritual thing that we did. So I didn't really think so much of it. And then at the end of senior year, I had this realization that I didn't know how to make myself happy, and this was came after some nights of realizing whether it was smoking marijuana and just realizing that I just didn't know what I was doing, and I also had this feeling that I didn't do high school in a way that was the best version of myself. Like I remember thinking, like I was the vice president of my high school at my senior year, and I remember at the end of that thinking, I didn't really do anything. Like I didn't really, I just did it to like put something on my resume. And I just kind of felt like, oh, that didn't feel good. Like I want to do something different in college. And so all of these things were coming together, and I had this very impactful, spiritual experience where I really felt like I had that connection with Jesus for the first time. And it was something that was very impactful because I always lumped all of the wisdom and everything with this religious organization, and I didn't really want anything to do with religious organizations. And so I felt like I started to open up a little bit of realizing that there was some wisdom here. I couldn't put my finger on exactly, but there was something juicy about spirituality that I need to explore. And so in college, it really started in that lens. I joined a Christian fellowship, and I was very active in that. And I knew I was very called to service in some way. So I was just looking for ways to be of service, even though I didn't really know what that meant, or I was just trying to be of service in ways that I thought were useful. But I also was going through this time then of I read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my mom it was in my freshman year dorm. She just left it in my dorm room. And I don't know if she left it there on purpose or by accident, but
moms are good like that, right?
Yes. No, it's funny because she was very intentionally trying to get me on a spiritual path in one way. And I think it was actually her unintentional thing that really opened up a door in a different way too for me.
Yeah.
So, but through college, it wasn't this very linear, like, oh, I'm just learning and growing and it's all good. Like there was so many, I changed my major twice. I was dabbling in all sorts of different meditation and breathwork practices just by like going on a blog or looking on YouTube or something and trying something out for a few days or a week and then being like, is this working? How do I know if this is working? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then it really got to a point in my junior year where I was actually about to drop out of school because I had already switched my major twice. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I was wasting my time. And I had a friend who was also into breathwork and meditation. We had just recently become friends, and I could tell he was doing something that was working. Like he was a PhD student in artificial intelligence. So already he's like, has a lot on his plate. And he just seemed like he was navigating things very seamlessly. And I was like, I want a little bit of what that guy has.
Yeah, like what's he doing?
Yeah, I seriously, I liked hanging around him for those like few months. I was like, there's something that he's just doing that seems to be working. And so he knew I was about to drop out of school. So he said, before you do that, why don't you just come and take this breathwork retreat, see if you enjoy it, and then make a decision after that. So I trusted him. So I said, okay, sure. And I went on this retreat. It was at my university, and it wasn't like I had any profound opening where I was like, oh, I'm going to practice this breath work for the next 10 years, or I'm going to be teaching this. Nothing like that happened, but there was something on the retreat where I just felt that if I do this daily practice every day, I think some good things will happen. I think something will open up, even though I don't know exactly what. And yeah, sure enough, by like 6-7 weeks later, I just remember looking around and thinking like, wow, I have more confidence. I have more energy. All of these things that were so overwhelming, I just couldn't wrap my head around, just became much more manageable. And overall, I just had a more enthusiasm for life. I was more just excited. And so something I just was like, okay, this is working. And that was a program with the Art of Living's version of the college program that I teach now called the Sky Campus Happiness Retreat. And so slowly I just started volunteering by organizing a few things at my own university. And then I learned how to lead some simple meditations for other college students when I was still there. And then shortly after I graduated, I became a full Art of Living teacher and then started teaching retreats at universities in Boston and then where I'm from in Pittsburgh. And then, yeah, for 7 years, I lived and worked at the Art of Living Retreat Center. So I taught retreat guests as well as prisoners, inmates, and then those that are recently incarcerated, integrating back into society. And then
that's
recently,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, that's a very beautiful demographic to work with, and as well as law enforcement. That's been another focus of the last couple of years, working with law enforcement to give them tools for resilience and letting go of the tensions and stressors of their jobs. So that's a little bit of my background story there. And
Well, I must say, Charlie, it's rare, I think, that at your age, when you're that young and you start feeling like you said in high school, you're already realizing like, what did I even do there? I mean, most high school kids, at least some of the ones I know, it's partying. It's like they don't think about that kind of thing. It sounds like you were already on a deeper path and realized it. But I have a question about, you mentioned your spirituality shifted. You were in the church, but then you felt a connection to Jesus. Can you explain a little more what that was like for you?
Yeah, so high school, that was the first time I really felt like I had this connection with Jesus. I felt like I started to read the Bible for the first time. I really hadn't read it before, and I was feeling that heart connection with some of those stories, specifically the stories about Jesus and Jesus talking, and so mostly the New Testament, right? And then and it just happened so that as I was in college and I read A New Earth, and I started realizing that the breath and meditation were really, I was looking for some experiences and some deeper wisdom there. Like I knew I could feel that heart connection with Jesus, and I knew that service was an aspect of what I was looking to do and why I was here. But I was just really pulled to some other wisdom about the mind and about the body that I just wasn't finding in that circle. And so I really started to explore, and that's when I read Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and then I started, and then after I did my Art of Living program, I started reading some of Gurudev's wisdom, who's the founder of the Art of Living, and started reading some of his wisdom about the mind and the body and consciousness. And there was this period, especially in college, where I really felt like there was this conflict where I felt, is this yoga and meditation? Is this going against what I had felt so strongly about before with my relationship with Jesus, or with, going to church and things like that? Like, are these really in conflict? And short answers, many people at the time would have said yes. Like many people would be like, yes, this is, you shouldn't be doing any of this.
From a religious point of view. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it was really after doing some of the breath work for a little bit and really reading some of Gurudev's wisdom about religions and about the Vedas, where I felt like my yoga and breath work, I felt like my yoga practices were enriching my appreciation for going to church and a lot of the rituals, and specifically some of the music in the hymns that we would sing. I remember thinking they were all so boring and like I didn't connect with them at all. And then like I remember this one Christmas, after doing some of the Art of Living techniques for some time, that I felt so much connection with the hymns of Christmas, and I really felt like my heart was opening in a way where it was so obvious that there wasn't any conflict there. In fact, that I really felt like I was really connecting on a deeper level with some of the things that were in the church. So although I'm sure that there are many people out there that still think that that's a very big conflict, and that anything that has to do with Eastern wisdom is not not in alignment with the Western church or whatever, I'm sure there's people that still think that. But in my experience, it's very complementary, but also even added so much depth to my appreciation of my connection with Jesus and the wisdom in the Bible and things like that.
Well, you bring up a good point because there is this there needs to be a bridge, it seems like, that's not there. But I think it's possible. Everyone has their own personal experience of a connection to spirit, right? That's a personal thing. And you could find that anywhere, right? You could get into religion and never see it ever. And then once, like you said, you start really getting in touch with the depth that you are, and using the breath work to do so. And then it changes your entire perception of going to a church or really anything, right? You said it affected your whole life. So it seems natural that it would have affected how you saw the church too. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that keeps coming up that on conversation with my friends or even other discussions I've had with people on podcasts and whatnot is that for me, one of the things that really resonated with me, something that my meditation teacher Gurudev says, is that religion is like spirituality is like the banana and religion is the banana peel. And for me, that's been so true and applicable in my life, where we can sometimes get so caught up on holding on to the banana peel and forgetting the banana that's inside. And so I think that, that's something that just really has resonated with me a lot and seems to be a guiding light as I go on my spiritual journey.
Well, most religion does not. I was raised Catholic, and I was always like, are we talking about connecting to spirit here? I mean, what's happening? It seemed very, and I'm not knocking the religion because I know plenty of people that are Catholic, but it just seems like there's always this missing link. There's very ritualistic, but I never learned from anybody in there how to create my own connection to this greater essence that's there, right? I had to go through my own personal experience as well. Yeah. But once that happens, to me, it's like there could be more in the religion today that is getting people in touch. Everyone has their own connection, but there's always, like in the Catholic faith, right? You got to go through the priest, there's the hierarchy. And that's always an interesting thing to me. So did you study with Gurudev? Can you talk a little bit about him? Maybe share with the audience where he's, his whole history, because he's an interesting man.
Yeah. So the Art of Living was founded, I think 45 years ago, about 45 years ago. And he was teaching meditation even before starting the Art of Living. He was actually, I'm not sure, have you heard of Maharishi Mahesh? So he had taught TM meditation for some time. And then he was feeling that people were needing something else, an additional tool to go into those meditative states, that he was finding some people were still not being able to really let go fully and dive into that meditative state. And so he actually went on a period of silence along one of the rivers in India for 9 or 10 days. And he said that the sky breath meditation, or Sudarshan Kriya, which is the breathwork technique that I learned and that Art of Living teachers teach around the world. He said that technique came to him like a poem would come to an artist. So he started teaching that first in just wherever he was invited to different households in India. And then the United States, the western part of the United States, was actually one of the first places that he also started teaching, in Los Angeles, Santa Barbara. Yeah.
It was the Mecca. Yeah.
Right. And I know, and at that time, even when I started meditating in 2011, 2012, I didn't know one person that was into meditation or breath work. And I know there were people, but just in my circle, I didn't know one person. So I can only imagine when people in the 80s and 90s were teaching this, that the looks that they got when people told them, you have to, just learn a little bit about the breath and it will, transform your life, that they're probably like, what are you talking about? I breathe every day. Like, there's nothing.
Well, but people don't really breathe every day. People are panicking and anxious and running around like crazy people most days. But what's interesting to me is we are an air gas system. I mean, we don't live unless we breathe. It's number one. We don't need food as much as we think. Water is essential, but if we will die if we don't have air. Yes. And so this is something I think that I love that you are helping teach the younger generations, because it's lacking, and with everything going on in the world and the distractions, everybody's it's like you're just distracted constantly and getting caught up in the cycle of the mind. But can you explain a little bit about what that breathing method is? Like what makes it different? There's so many meditation techniques out there. Explain this one.
Yeah, so it's a rhythmic breathing process. And there's a couple techniques that you do that. So I don't know if have you heard of Bostrika breath or
No.
bellows breath? It's a very invigorating breath that really removes a lot of stagnant energy and increases the alertness,
Yeah.
the energy in the body. So do a couple techniques that really prepare the system, and then the rhythmic breathing it's something that we teach on our retreats, and it's not that very, even to do it at home, it's the whole practice itself takes 25-30 minutes. And that includes even some like this rest period at the end. So with some of this rhythmic breathing, then it really just leaves you in this meditative state that you feel, you just feel like whether you've meditated for years before or you've never meditated, you just feel relaxed and ready to rest, whether it's lying down resting or staying seated and meditating. It just leaves you in that space that is just a really beautiful experience. Like I said, even for people who have been meditating, like I had been dabbling with meditation for a few years, even before doing Sky. And I was just like, oh, this is kind of what I've been looking for. Like, this is what I'm like, I just can do these things and drop in. And I think for me also having that technique that, like I said, I had been doing some meditation and I could tell that something was working. Like I could tell there was something there with meditation, but with all the different techniques, I didn't know exactly what to do, when, or how to do it.
Yeah.
And for me, when I was starting practicing this Sky technique and had that consistent practice, I was really feeling that, okay, even though each day might feel a little bit different, one day I might go into the practice feeling tired and then I get energized after, or one day I'm feeling very restless before and I seem to be able to calm down and get centered after. I just felt as though it was giving me what I needed for that day. And I think that's really that's a side effect of when we let go of those tensions and stressors that we hold on to in the system, and we can tap into that space that's inside of peace, of joy, of contentment, then naturally everything just becomes more, everything starts to flow more easily.
Yeah.
So,
well, there is a vast space, an inner space that's, to me, in my own experiences, is massive, right? It's a huge, vast awareness. Can you give us any of your own personal experience or anybody that you've worked with? Because I know meditation can bring on all kinds of different experiences. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure.
The deep trance states, the experiences of leaving the body, all that kind of stuff. What do you know about that? Or personally?
What I know, what I know about that is the only thing I really know about that is that it's so fascinating to see how different everybody's experience can be doing the same exact technique in the same setting at the same time in the same room. And for me, I have never been one that I've never seen anything. I've never heard anything in meditation. I've never had that type of experience. But I will just say that from the days when I was just starting to dabble and explore, I remember thinking, is this whole thing about like chakras and energy centers, like, is that real or is that just some made up BS?
Yeah.
Like, I was genuinely curious because growing up, I had a very scientific, like engineering type mind of like, show me proof of something. And so I was very curious if that was like a real thing at all. And I will say that, especially for me, after going on some of the silent retreats in the art of living, where, when you're in that state where you've retracted those senses instead of talking or reading or going on screens for a few days, and you take all that energy to go inward, that there's some specific meditations that we do on there where it just became so obvious of like, oh yeah, this is, of course, all this stuff is happening inside. How was I never aware of this before? That the energy centers have such a, they play such a prominent role in how I'm feeling during the day and what is happening, and connecting it to my thoughts and emotions and my actions. So for me, that has been something that I have been a big part of my experience, not as much as the seeing or hearing or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when I'm teaching many people that I've taught at the retreat, I have some people that at the end of the Sky breath, they're convinced that I was like coming over with a flashlight and shining a light in their eyes, saying, were you flickering the lights? Did you brighten the lights up so much in here?
Yeah.
I said, no, I was just sitting here. So, people say they hear things, and one of the more common experiences that I hear, especially after people's first one or two experiences with the sky, is a sense of that they felt very heavy during the breath work, that they were able to then let go of, and feeling like there was something that was holding them that they couldn't put a finger on, that made them feel lighter after the session, that there was some tension that maybe they couldn't even tell you where it was before the session, if it was in their chest or stomach or head, but they just feel a sense of lightness after. And so that's one of the more common experiences that I've heard teaching, but I've gotten the whole spectrum over the last 9 years of teaching the program.
I bet everybody has their own experience, which is an interesting thing. Especially, you mentioned drugs early on, smoking pot. I always feel like drugs affect people differently too, right? Everyone's having a different experience. So my question to you is, you're a science mind, right? You said you like science. So what are some of the scientific, if you know any studies on meditation and breath work, how it affects the physical body, and there's got to be a lot of different experiences there. So maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah. So, with the sky breath specifically, some of the research, so it's one of the most, if not the most research breathwork technique out there. I think right now it's over 120 independent studies that have been done specifically on sky. One of the things that I'm so fascinated by is that, almost all of those studies are about what are the effects, right? Like what has happened once people practice sky. So, there's so many papers on practicing sky and anxiety going down, or depression, or sleep improvement. That's one of the big ones, is improving of sleep, especially for those suffering from PTSD. So we've done some studies that have specifically been with groups of veterans suffering from PTSD. Mm-hmm. There's, at least to my knowledge, I don't know what the research on is, or exactly of what is the physiological mechanisms happening of why just doing some rhythmic breathing for 25, 30 minutes can have all these profound impacts on people's systems, but it just does seem to have that effect. And I actually, in 2019, I went to Yale, where they were doing a study with college students specifically, and they had all of these different variables that they were looking at, like depression, psychological well-being, sleep, positive emotion, etc. And it was a control study, and then they also had a control group, MBSR, Yale's Emotional Intelligence Program, and Sky. And I believe the emotional intelligence program at the end of the 6 weeks had one or two of those significantly positive impacts. And the sky breath had 7 or 8 of those impacts at the end and I know depression and reducing stress were definitely 2 of them. And so, there's definitely been many studies around the impact of the sky breathing and all sorts of meditation practices, certainly. And I think there's just that one of those first things that I learned when I was doing these programs was just that there is this, as we were just talking about, and that there's this intimate connection between our breath and the state of our mind and emotions that we're often not aware of, if at all. And that seeing that connection, that, I didn't even know this until I was told that every emotion has a corresponding rhythm of breath with it. And it was like, yeah, I guess that does make sense. Like, if you're angry, you breathe a certain way, right? You're like,
you're like, you're pissed.
Right. And we're sad. We have that long exhale, but I wasn't aware of that until someone told me. And I just, that using the breath is tapping into the truth that that's not just a one-way street, that using the breath in certain ways, we can then impact and uplift our emotions and state of our mind. And so I think there's probably a lot more research that is to be done and will be coming soon about, really diving into what are those mechanisms of breath that have this, intimate connection with our emotions. But yeah, the studies are definitely out there that just the significant improvement of reducing depression, reducing anxiety, improving people's sleep, and even things like immune system and gene expression have been happening recently, where people, all the factors that determine people's ability to resist disease shows to be increasing with after just a few weeks of sky breath meditation. So yeah, there's a lot of research out there, and I'd be happy to share some links or articles as well too.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, it's been around in India for thousands of years. I mean, it's like they kind of know this, but I think in the modern era, everything is so hectic, right? And so let's talk a little bit about the mind and, this mechanism that most people think they are, right? I mean, until you have something happen to you or something in you opens up, space, awareness, or something, to observe your own thinking, most of us just react. I mean, we're living in the insanity. Yeah. It's a total delusion. Yeah. I always call the mind like it's just a total nutcase half the time. But many people don't know that, right? They don't realize that that's not the essence of who they are. So it's very personal, right? It's like you get really involved with your thoughts and your belief system, and it's running your life. So what do you notice when you're teaching people and maybe in your own life, how people start seeing like, maybe there's more to this, space of me than I know about?
Yeah, that for me, I remember when I was in college and I was having, even before really diving into meditation, I was just, one of those things that was starting to come to my awareness was that my beliefs about certain things have changed over some years. And so, so if my thoughts have changed and my beliefs have changed, then I can't be those things. And that would like really kind of cracked open this, because I really was so, I thought that like I totally identified with this voice in my head of being me, and whatever it says must be, that's who I am. But it was when I think it was definitely partly reading A New Earth with Eckhart Tolle, where I was like, wait, my beliefs have changed. So that can't be me. And then, and then, so that would like kind of start to open the door. And then after I started doing some meditation, doing some breath work, and I could start to sink into that space inside where there wasn't so many thoughts, and there was like a contentment that was underneath all of these storms of emotions. And I was another awareness of like, oh, there's something below all of that turmoil there that's on the surface, and all of the, oh, I have to do this and I should have done that and I want to do this. Like there was something beneath that. And so that for me, that was how I was starting to experience that. And then I think when I'm teaching and facilitating these programs, one of the things that I hear all the time is that I haven't felt this quiet since I was a kid. That's a phrase I think I've heard at least a dozen times over the last few years, that I haven't felt like things haven't felt this quiet inside since I was a little kid. And it's a very positive thing how they express that. And we get so used to the norm of just talking so much, just being so much in the living in the past and the future, like this.
And we're so important.
Yeah, right. That's, I know, right. That
I laugh at that all the time. Like, I'm so important. I'm like the center of the universe. And I don't know, I think it takes time to see, yourself clearly. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly found over the years that I watch this crazy thing in my head and laugh a lot now because it's so ridiculous, like it's like, I'm just sitting there going, and sometimes you can stop yourself, sometimes you can't, but there's still an awareness that sees it, and then you can kind of be like, okay, that was ridiculous what I just did there. See how I was really playing the role, like I was getting really into that role. And I always feel like we're all just actors on the stage, and how important we think that we are. But
oh yeah, I mean, and now it's so funny. Like now, on the course of the spiritual journey, sometimes, I mean, the trap that I get caught in so many times is that, oh, because I am a meditator, that I can't believe I've had these thoughts of how did I lose myself thinking about the future so much or worrying about this thing. And then it's like, you shouldn't be thinking about that. You should, and it's like, wait, that's another trip to go down.
Yep,
And
that's another trap. Yep.
it's another, and that's why just for me, when I usually get, oftentimes when I'm down that, or if I'm gone, and then, okay, I do my afternoon meditation or something, and then I sit, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, I was caught up in being caught up about something, and then it just all can unravel a bit. So for me, having those spaces in my day where I can just be not in that, not having to do something, or and going inward, I feel like is what can allow me to really unhook those things that constantly keep wanting to be hooked onto. But I know it's so many times. Yeah, I love what you said there. But am I so important that I need to think about myself all the time? Like,
Well, it's fun to think about, but you said something interesting too, as you said, people say they haven't felt this quiet since they were kids. I mean, that's the truth, right? As a kid, we're not responsible yet for, earning money. We're not responsible for our lives yet, right? Usually our parents are taking care of us or whatever, wherever we are. And then the conditioning sets in, like right around high school, right? Right. What does everybody say to you when you're a senior in high school? What are you going to do? What are you going to grad? Where are you going to school? What are you going to do with your life? And, I have two of my youngest girls are going to be seniors next year. And yeah, they're just like, don't ask. I don't want to talk about college. Stop asking me questions. You know? And it's pressure for young people. And then the conditioning just sets in, right? And then you start living this life that as adults, we got to do, go, go, go. Survival is the name of the game here. And we lose that essence, like you said, as a child, where that quiet. So what have you learned, Charlie, or learned from people you work with too, about how do we implement the calm, quiet after you learn to reconnect with yourself, you're meditating or whatever, into the everyday madness that will continue as long as we live here?
Oh man, that's a great question. That's one I've been exploring for the last.
I know. Is there a right answer?
Yeah. No, I mean it's such a. I think that is really that's just like you said, that is what we're looking for, is that inner state of relaxation while also being dynamic on the outside to deal with everything. Because I've been on both sides of the spectrum, where the first side where it was just, I'm so caught up in I have to achieve this to get to this and get to this step, and then I'll be okay. Like, let me get this. And then that obviously, I realized early on that was a trap, that was never going to end, that goalpost, moving the goalpost game would happen forever. Mm-hmm. So, and then I've been on the other side of that spectrum too, where I've just been like, okay, well, none of that matters. So I shouldn't do anything. Nothing. I'm just going to avoid doing anything. Like if I can't achieve happiness that way, then the answer must just be to not try to do anything. And that obviously didn't work for me either. So honestly, I feel like this is where, and I was really going through a lot of this turmoil in college, but still certainly figuring a lot of it out. But this is where I feel like me getting to spend some time and watching Gurudev navigate life, I feel like has been, I like to feel like some of that has rubbed off, or I've gotten to catch that vibration a little bit, because I see him as someone who everyone wants to talk to him all of the time. He's being constantly contacted by world leaders or business leaders of this and trying to solve their problems or negotiate a peace deal in Colombia. Like, there's big problems that are always thrown on his plate, whether it's world problems or just individuals' problems, like, I'm going through a breakup, help me. Yeah. And he is always in action solving those problems, but from a place of centeredness, where he is so quick to be playful. He's so quick to crack a joke. He's so also quick to just be in silence and not answer with any words. And so it at least for me, it makes me think that, okay, there is this state where this is possible, that like you can still be very active in trying to do good things for the world and trying to be of service and be very dynamic, while also internally exuding that peace and contentment and playfulness. And so For me, the only answers that I have found of how to do it is just setting aside that time in my day to go inward,
Yeah.
to let go of those things. But it is certainly an ongoing journey. And because I just when you mentioned earlier of like one of those things that I constantly see that keeps bubbling up is that there is such this conditioning for I think for not just my generation but every generation that you have to be further ahead than where you are now. There's
Yeah.
something more that you could be doing or could be achieving, and I feel like that all has gotten so exaggerated with when you can see everyone's lives on social media, and not just now your friends' lives, but now you're seeing the top 1% of every field is in front of you on your screen. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, how come I haven't done that yet? Or how come I haven't? And all of those things can make it more and more difficult, which makes me think now is more time than ever that we need to find those tools to go inward. So
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does.
that's
No,
okay.
it was great. What you're talking about is the feeling of lack, the feeling of
Yes,
lack
exactly.
that I don't have enough. Well, and this is classic ego, right? I mean, it's never satisfied. It expects an outcome. But you mentioned something too. It's like, yeah, we should have this. We should be here. You're never satisfied. You say you achieve something, but what happens? You're on to the next thing. Like you said, you're moving the goalposts all the time. Or, finances. Well, the financial world says at this time I need to have this much money in my bank, or I'm shit out of luck, man. My life's gonna suck. And I'm thinking there are people all over the world who literally have nothing, and they seem like they're still living.
Yep. Yep.
So it's just to
Yep.
me, I'm like, what is this need to chase? What are we chasing?
Yeah.
I think that's the question that most of us don't ask. Like, even if I get that next thing, what's going to happen? I'm going to be obsessed with something else. And guess what? We're all going to die. And none of this physical stuff is coming with us.
Yep.
We come in with nothing and we leave with nothing. So to me, it's almost like it's a game. It seems like this kind of game where we're being distracted by the external world. And like you said, do I just do nothing then, right? In spiritual circles, there's a lot of people, well, I can just go meditate on a mountain and just forget the world. And I think, well, that isn't it either, right? It's like, how do we do both? Like you said, Guru Dev seems to do a beautiful job of that. It's like, I have this deep connection and awareness that I know I'm something greater than what I see in front of my face.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm going to navigate the world. And I know that this world is going to do this, right? It's going up and down. It's dual. It's back and forth. And I think the trap can be for a lot of us, we're trying to think that we could make this world like a utopia. And I don't know about you, but I see it as a classroom so that we can return to the oneness and home that is truly who knows where,
Yes. No, more and more recently, just especially even in just the last year or so, I've realized how much I have in my head. I've seen the world as like this, either a place of like a test or or something to accumulate things in. Like I've noticed that tendency, and just realizing that lens of the classroom is such a more helpful way to view what is happening here. And that really is how I can like allow myself to relax about a lot of things, is that, oh yeah, I it's okay that I didn't have anything perfect then, or even that I don't have everything perfect now, because that's the point of a classroom, is you're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to be like, I've learned this. How did I not have learned this?
Well, and also, I tell me what you think about this, but it seems to me that there's two ways of looking, or there's probably many ways of looking at it, but two in my mind come. It's this need to go and do and achieve, and we have to survive here. So I'm not saying don't do anything, but there's part of our mind that is constantly going and distracting, so that it never sees what you really are. At least that's what it seems like is happening. That's the trick, right? Keep going, keep yourself occupied, keep getting upset, do all the things in all the spectrum of emotions that come with that, just to keep you from taking the time, like you said, to go inward and see that maybe all we're really doing is peeling away all the crap that we thought was there, that we thought was true. And it's instead of us like learning, we're like unlearning. We're melting away, we're peeling away to recognize what's always been there.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
go anywhere. We're just not seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I love that you were saying about that, just the ups and the downs and the negatives both and positives can both be there, of like whether I need to achieve this thing or I need to like avoid this thing. And I feel like that for me was, I felt very lucky that early on I had that moment of awareness where I was realizing that, oh, even the things that I thought I wanted and got ended up not making me as happy as I thought they did. And it just brought that awareness point of like, okay, but if I go run after the next thing, I just had that in the back of my mind of, okay, but remember that you also had that happening before of running after something and getting it, and it wasn't what it seemed. So it is true that both with that constant running toward the cravings or running away from the aversions are both distractions from the center. Like they're both distractions from but who you are, like you were saying.
Well, they're the extremes, right? On both sides. And then
Yeah.
where do you find the bridge, the balance of it all? And then I find maybe we can talk a little bit about laughter, because it's like,
Sure. Yeah.
I think there's a lack of humor in our lives. Like we said, we think we're so important. Everything's so serious all the time. And we think like, I don't know, what do we think is going to happen? I guess the world's going to end. I mean, I don't know, all the apocalyptic fearful things out there. I guess what's the one thing that we're all really afraid of? I mean, you could go all the way to the existential fear of non-existence itself. I mean, that I went through that once where it was like, man, it just took you to a whole new place of fear,
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Why are we so crazy?
I definitely don't have an answer to that one, but I will say it is interesting, because I do think even in the realm of spirituality, and especially in many religions, like that seriousness is so intertwined with like being a good spiritual person or something. There's oftentimes it's so connected of like that solemnness with spirituality or with wisdom. And I think for me, that was one of the things that really attracted me to the art of living, and some of the practices and the sessions that we've done, and the wisdom there, is that I just felt that lightness that was there. And I felt this, laughing and making jokes and even causing a little chaos with some pranking, and that's all part of a part of who we are as humans.
Yeah.
And we do really need that. And I think I had swam in some circles that were a little bit too serious when it came to the spirituality, that it was a breath of fresh air for me to realize that that's not really the case. And even now, when I see some of these like wise people from different traditions that come together, often they just come and sometimes they'll just sit in silence together, or they'll just like crack jokes and laugh because they're in on something. They kind of know that they feel that lack of seriousness. And so I do think that humor is 100% like a not just a nice to have on the spiritual journey, but like a necessity, a part of what makes it so juicy.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. And it is missing. And it's like you said, you were in a group that maybe was too rigid, and it's like, yeah, you got to lighten up a little bit. You might as well enjoy the ride while you're here. I kind of feel like, what's the point if we don't find that, sense of lightness and joy and peace? I think that is really our nature,
Yeah. Yeah, but then you could just retire at 55 and just still have all of your things and not laugh, like, which is better? And it's like,
yes,
I
that's
think
a thing too.
Yeah.
Well, right. So let me ask you a little bit about the retreats that you do at the retreat center. What does it look like? How many days is a typical retreat? Give us a little bit of like what this looks like. And then do you offer like online classes and things like that?
Yeah, so just a quick background about the center. So it's our largest center in North America, and we actually have programs of we have actually people from all over the world come and do their programs there. We have authors and speakers and yoga
Oh,
teachers and wellness teachers that they run and have programs there. So we've had many well-known teachers come through, and then we have our whole suite of art of living programs, as well as an Ayurveda spa, so a wellness spa that people get these beautiful treatments, and
yeah.
some of them are just really
Sign me up.
invigorating. Yeah, you definitely have to come check it out.
I'm already like thinking like I need to do this. Yeah.
Yes, no, it is a magical place, and we have all these art of living programs that come and from silent retreats. So I before I even lived there, I would come at least once or twice a year for a silent meditation retreat.
Hmm.
Just and I've done them in many places, but to do it at the center on top of the mountain where all the food is provided for you
Mm.
is like another level of experience. But
How many
but yeah,
days
so
in silence is that? How many days do you do? Or
yeah,
did you do?
we have different, so I've done ones that are 3 days, 5 days. So some of them can just fit even just taking one day off, you come on Thursday night, you can leave on Sunday. So it's even though it's so relatively short, people still find it to be very refreshing. But I've done 5 days. We also offer 7 days and sometimes even 10 days silent retreats there as well. And
Can I
then we
ask? I'm
have,
sorry to interrupt
yeah,
you, but can I
please, no,
ask
please.
this? Sorry, my mind just starts asking questions. When
Yeah.
you're doing, I've never done a silent meditation retreat. So when you're there, is everybody just silent, or do you have somebody facilitating meditation? Like, how does this go?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think that's a question a lot of people have when they hear about it. Like, do I just show up and not talk for a few
Yeah.
days? Like, what does that mean?
Do
And
I just shut up the whole time?
yeah, we just take your phone and throw it away and say, "Don't talk."
I'm bringing my kids. We're all coming. We're just going to shut
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
I know it's so funny. We have people say oftentimes on the retreat when I mention the silent retreat, people are saying, "I don't want to do it, but I know a friend that I'm going to send to do it." But but yeah, on the silent retreat it's very much you're guided and your hand is held all the way through. So basically, you're just taking a commitment to set aside the phones. You're not going to be even reading any books. We're going to take all that energy that we spend normally going outward and just going inward. So someone is guiding you. Even at the beginning, there are a few talking processes to get some things really it really allows you to slip into that silence even easier. So they'll guide through some talking processes, and then the teacher will, let you know when it's time to go into silence. And then there's guided meditations and guided processes throughout the silence. It's not just like showing up and sitting in the room and
Yeah.
not talking for a few hours. Like there's very specific types of meditations that we do on the silent retreats. And then we also, a part of it is usually spending some time in nature too. So getting out and walking and being in the nature and
Hmm.
experiencing the silence in that way. And then you're very gracefully guided out of the silence as well. And you're not just left, okay, it's over. Now go talk to your family. So
What's
yeah,
it like to utter a word after you haven't spoken in many days? Is it like almost like, can I talk?
yeah. It's so, I some people are like, I could never be in silence, and then those people are usually the people that don't even want to talk at the end. Like they
Yeah.
enjoy it so much. But yeah, it's really you have to come out slowly because
Hmm.
you're into such a even if your conscious mind isn't aware of how deep that you were going, if you just start talking immediately all of a sudden, then you then start to realize, oh, whoa, okay, like something I need to cool down a little bit. So yeah, it does it takes like, maybe a day or so where you just kind of get back into your rhythm. But I
Hmm.
find it so I think of it as like the breath work that I do every day is like my refresh button or recharger for my day. And when I go on the silent retreat, it's like my refresh button for the year or for
Mm.
6 months. And I feel like it's just connect with that an even deeper level by going into
Yeah.
silence and doing those meditations.
So do you do a silent retreat yourself like once a year, or do you do it more often than that?
So personally, like the ones I attend, like I
Yeah,
attend.
just personally. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to attend at least 2 a year. Sometimes I try to get 3 in, but bare minimum 2. I would like to do a little bit more, but and we've actually done those both in person and online. And when I first heard about doing an online silent retreat, I was like, this is not, because we started this over the pandemic, right? And I
Right.
was like, this is not going to work. Like, what do you mean an online silent retreat? And yet I've had amazing, amazing experiences on online silent retreats. And there's something even about like when you're in your own place and you're cooking your own food that I don't know. There was something also very special about the online ones, but yeah, in person at the retreat center and online have both been really, really impactful for me.
Well, that's awesome. I just loved hearing about all this. So
Yeah, no,
I,
I love talking about it.
it's awesome. No, it's making me think. I've meditated over the years, and it reminds me when you said when you start to talk again, when you're in deep meditation, I personally always like disconnect from the body. I don't feel the body. It's like a dead weight. And also like when I go to sleep at night, I feel like I can just drop the body off and just, I don't know where I go. But,
Yeah.
and so when you come back, like when you start coming back into this reality, it's like the same thing where the body, I'm like, can I move the toe? It feels like it's a statue. And then all of a sudden you reintegrate and it's kind of a slow coming back. But yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious if the same thing happened with talking. Maybe I need to try that.
Yeah, you definitely need to give it at least a shot and do a silent retreat, especially at the center if you can. It's really a great experience.
Well, no, that sounds great because I've been pissing my kids off recently. So maybe I should just, I should learn how to shut up. I don't need to comment on their lives anymore. Maybe this is what I need, Charlie. So before we sign off today, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Anything that comes to mind?
The one thing that is coming to mind is that often I talk to a lot of people, whether they come up to the center or I've done online programs or anywhere where I've given talks, that inevitably someone will say, I love this idea of meditation. I've heard the benefits. I've heard the science. I just can't meditate. I just can't do it. And they'll say, when I sit down, I get angry, or I just have too much anxiety, or I have too many thoughts when I sit down, so it's not working for me. And what I just wanted to say is that that is perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. In fact, the fact that you're sitting down and observing the anxiety or the thoughts that are there is such an important key step, because they're already there inside and you're just now giving the space for them to come up and leave you. And so I always just like to leave people with this, that sitting for meditation and the breath work that's where things can really help, where if you really feel like there's a lot of tension or thoughts, doing some breath work to get into that meditative space is a big, it can just be a huge factor. But I also just like to emphasize that just sitting with that valor, that courage and patience will undoubtedly unveil that peace and that meditative state within you. And if you're in that space of tension or whatever before, just know that if you sit through it, there are good things underneath it.
Well, that's a great way to put it. And I think that it's a distraction, right? The mind wants to say, don't go there.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, don't go there because you might actually discover peace.
Yes, I know, right? It's so, I love how you put that.
It's great to say that because I'm sure a lot of people listening feel that way, that, I just don't like meditating. I just can't stop thinking, But like you said, the fact that you can see it, you're aware of it. You're aware that it's happening and it's a process, right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining me today, Charlie. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and please come back anytime.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
You bet.
That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. If it resonated, please share, follow, and drop a review with your takeaways. It really means a lot. Visit my website at livelikeeden.com to subscribe for weekly reminders and blogs, or sign up for a free 30-minute consult to explore one-on-one guidance sessions if you're really struggling in awakening's darkness. Take my awakening quiz to get a personal podcast playlist that meets you exactly where you're at. See you next week for another deep dive.
We talk to the animals, and we know you can too. On the Animal Communication Podcast, hosted by the three of us, myself, Julie Hiert,
Karen Dudley-Smith,
and Meredith Tollison, we will show you how to deepen your relationship with your beloved animal companions, whether they're alive or in spirit.
As soul-level animal communicators, we explain the process and explore topics such as health, behavior, and play, all from the animal's perspective.
So subscribe and follow us on Apple, Spotify, and listen as part of the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network.
Hey everybody, it's me, Sarah Wiseman. Are you an intuitive, empath, sensitive, or seeker who wants to learn more? Join me for my podcast, Spiritual Psychic. We'll talk about topics like psychic development, channeling, spirituality, and how to live soul first on the spiritual path. Part of the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network and available wherever you get your podcasts.